Hey, Eddie, are you there? I don't know. Oh, Eddie, are you there? Oh, well, I'm here. The recording is paused. I just turned on the recording, Eddie. Somehow I forgot to do that until now. Here's Eddie Shaw, the bassist from the original Monks, one of the most incredible stories in the history of rock and roll. You guys took Germany by storm, dressed as monks, with your heads shaved in monks' tonsures, wearing monks' cassocks and white ties. That was an incredible experience. No one else has had that experience.
I always wanted to be a monk, but I never got the chance.
Yeah, you did your own version of the thing, I guess. You reinvented the concept.
It's a joke.
So, yeah, no, I know. You caught me off guard. You caught me off guard. So, do you have any fall stories? Any Marky Smith stories?
Well, Marky Smith, we were playing in Berlin. He came on stage and I forget what song we were playing. But he come on and says, and he just got right in the middle of us and he took over the whole show. And at the end, there was a guy from Germany filming it. And at the end, he walked off at the end of it, and he was I think he was drinking a little bit,
Yeah,
and he was saying, "Oh, how to do now? Oh, how to do now?
right, right.
Yeah, oh, how to do now? Oh, how to do?" And he was just going on and on and on, and then he walked off the stage, and at the left side of our stage, there was a guy filming this show, and he walked by him and pushed him off the stage.
Oh, Mark, and he's passed too. He left us a couple years ago.
Yeah, he was a good friend.
That's good. The Fall was always one of my favorite bands.
I enjoyed him.
It's in the canon.
I enjoyed him. I enjoyed a number of people like that. Genesis, uh, what's his name? Genesis.
Oh, Genesis P. Orridge?
Yours, right. Another
Yeah,
one I enjoyed.
interesting. Who do you like from the current crop? Is there a current band that you really like of a new breed band?
There are so many new breeds that I enjoy. I enjoy that I can't think of all their names because it's just there's an influx of brand new music, which I
Right,
think is great. I listen to some of it. I don't, I'm not into the hip hop so much.
right.
I'm not into all that, but there is a certain element that's going on that I do appreciate. And it's partly electronic, partly new instrumentation, that sort of thing.
All
Experimental.
right.
I like the experimental stuff.
Sounds good. Have you heard about anti-folk?
Anti-folk, yes.
Yeah, you like anti-folk?
Yeah.
That's been about the coolest new thing that's come along for me in the last few years, several years. I guess it's been about 20 years by now. Um, well,
By the way,
guys,
I enjoyed your book.
thank you. I enjoyed your book very much, and you gave
I,
me the best review anyone ever has. Thank you.
well, you're kind of like what's that person I was trying to think of that?
You compared me to James Joyce.
Yeah, that's who it is. You're James Joyce.
Yeah,
You're walking down the street on a cell phone.
interesting. So how is Angelica or Anita?
Nita sie ist gestorben.
She's what?
Gestorben. She's
Gestorben.
tot, dead.
Oh, I didn't know that. I'm sorry to hear that.
Oh, she died. She died some years ago of cancer.
Wow.
And
Well, you had quite a love story throwing that wedding ring around and
well, that
regaining
went
it.
on for a long time, and the new book I'm putting out right now is called passing through Minnesota and other
Right.
altered states. And it's about my experiences after the monks, being in Nashville, playing the big game, you know,
Mm.
uh, and what happens to Anita, my ex-wife. She I explain it in the book, and I've been married since then.
Okay.
And my wife now is Sherry Riley, and she's beautiful, and she takes care of me, and everything is good.
All right. I'm glad to hear that. So it's really an honor to be speaking with you. I would really say no one has lived the life you've lived. No one has ever, I mean, probably people have done versions of performing in outlandish attire. Of course they have, but I can't think of anyone who dressed as a monk and played rock and roll.
That was outlandish.
Yeah. Well, maybe not so much anymore, but in the post-war era, in the early 60s, I guess it would have been.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're aware of how outlandish it was.
I never thought about it.
That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Oh,
I
I look forward.
we would dress with we go on the street. All the old women would look at us and they would admire us and say, "Oh my God, you know, hello, Father," you know.
The skinny tie on even.
Yeah, and then we say, "Can I say the F word?"
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, okay. So we say, "What the fuck's going on here?" They go, they hear that, they go, "What?"
And they catch you drinking a beer or something.
Yeah, yeah. So we got to be the good guy and the bad guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So, and I really enjoyed your jazz, your later compositions when you got into the jazz with the hydraulic pigeons,
Oh, the
all
hydro.
that stuff.
Yeah,
Excellent.
experimental.
Oh, someone else has arrived.
Okay.
Let's see. And it's easier to do this when there's more than one person to talk to because I'm in my host mode. And this is Myshel Prasad. Myshel, can you hear me? She's not all set up yet. This is Myshel. She's a musician. I met her years ago via the Naropa Institute. She's a writer. She writes all her own lyrics, and now she's become, I believe, fully a musician. And I think ask to unmute. So we're just waiting for her to unmute. And Myshel, it's great to
Hello.
see you. How's it going?
Zack. When is the last time I saw your face?
Oh, I think 1990 something. I don't know. It's been a long time. Do you know that you're on the podcast right now with Eddie Shaw, the bassist from the Monks? You know the Monks? They
Oh
shaved
my
their heads, they
God.
wore cassocks, and they took Germany by storm in the early 60s.
I saw a video of Monk's Chant where it seemed like almost everybody in the band was, getting on top of the guitar and devouring it
Oh,
and
yes.
writhing around and creating incredible sonic screams out of this poor guitar. It
I
was
would
it was
say,
gorgeous.
did you guys invent feedback? Did you invent the use of feedback as an art form, Eddie?
No, feedback invented us.
Oh, good answer. Good answer.
That is the right answer. I was curious, if you don't mind me just kind of jumping into this,
No,
when I was
please.
watching that and watching, I think it's Complicated.
Hmm.
I was wondering if you
Complication?
guys had any idea how much you would sort of like force an absolute sea change in every band that came after you, whether they knew it or not. Were you at all conscious of that, or were you just in the flow?
Well, we were in our flow. Our managers were not. They said we're gonna change things, but for us, it was basically working 7 nights a week. In a year, we had 3 nights off in a whole year, and
Oh my God.
we're on stage 6 hours every night. On Sundays, we're on 8 hours. on stage. And so we would experiment with the audience. We would play with them. And because you're on that much time, after a while, you forget that it's like a job. And then you start playing with the audience and you want to see what gets them irritated. And then we would irritate them. And that was the mark of our success.
One of my favorite parts of those videos is watching people try to figure out how to dance to your song.
Yeah, I know. I used to watch it myself. I couldn't figure it out myself. I tried to dance to it. I couldn't do it.
So what was your rig?
What was our rig?
Yeah, what was your rig?
What do you mean rig?
What were you playing through?
What was I playing through?
Yeah.
I was playing a Marshall amp
Yeah.
and Gibson bass.
Ah.
And the amp was so beat up that's how I got that sound, because the speakers couldn't handle the sound. They were already.
Yeah, it's an incredible natural distortion.
Yeah, just they were totally burnt out.
So the Monks were marketed as the anti-Beatles, and of course you went through the same laborious gig schedule as the Beatles did in Germany, but you had a whole different motivation.
Yes, huh? We played the same club.
Yeah, the Top 10 Club.
Yeah.
Myshel, did you know the jazz butcher has passed? Pat Fish, he died a few days ago.
No, I didn't know that.
Do you know that guy? You know who that is?
Vaguely. I remember the name, but I don't think I was close to.
All right. Well, I'm dedicating the podcast tonight to his memory because he was just a really good guy, and he died so startlingly because he's been posting things live from Fishy Mansions. His name is Pat Fish, and live from Fishy Mansions, and I never watched one. I happened to tune in on the one where he canceled, saying that he hadn't had any sleep because every time he would fall asleep, it felt like he was choking. But don't worry, it's not COVID. I'm sorry. We'll be back on Tuesday or whatever it was. And then in the morning, he died. So God bless Pat Fish. And this podcast here is dedicated to Pat Fish. I had brought up The Fall because Eddie Shaw is friends with Marky Smith, also passed a few years ago. And The Fall has a song dedicated to Pat Fish called Pat Trip Dispenser. I just found that out today. So Myshel, I really enjoyed listening to that song you sent me, Your Impossible Velocity. Excellent.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah.
And I know you have to add more layers to it, but it sounds great.
It's just guitar and voice right now. But it is 3 amps, so that counts for something, right?
Oh yeah, it's a substantial sound. So I guess we're waiting for a few more guests to arrive, and I'm guessing that the theme tonight, it's called Writing and Rocking, but the theme is really just choosing the creative effort, like it's a vocation, but deciding to follow that calling and be that in your life and make your life out of art. And that would be the common ground for us all tonight. I almost got Mark Sink might show up, who is a member of Warhol's Factory. He tried logging in early, and then I had a brief exchange with him on email. He said he might check in via iPhone on his way driving somewhere. So that'll add to the mix. And we've also got Nadia Zold. She's a director, and she was to bring Lon Friend, who's a well-known rock journalist. And my friend Duke Crowder is supposed to be stopping by, and he's a traveling singer-songwriter. And Mark Sofranco, did I mention him? He's a novelist, and he's written a couple books of poetry. But you guys are the first to arrive, and I'm happy to have you here. We've got our little trio. What's going on in your life, Myshel? You're coming
Well,
to
I would
Denver
say that your
soon.
theme for this evening is very appropriate. That's something that Patti Smith talked a lot about today on stage, tonight.
Excellent.
She very much dedicated this show to the living, acknowledging all the souls of the dead, the spirits of the dead, the spirits of our loved ones that are always with us and surrounding us. But her anthem, her mantra tonight was live, fucking live, just live,
Live,
over and
fucking
over again.
live.
Which,
Excellent.
yeah, which includes nurturing that visionary spirit. You know, I'm in Paris right now, and her show is at the Rex in Paris. So it's like 3 a.m. here right now. So she was invoking, you know, Van Gogh and Rimbaud and all the folks who have gone before us with often short, miserable, painful, excruciating lives, who nevertheless have left us this extraordinary legacy of beauty and inspiration. Not to depress us, but she was invoking them rather to remind us that sometimes vision is all. So,
It's eternal. It's eternal.
Yeah.
Duke Crowder just showed up. I don't know if he can hear me.
I can hear you.
Duke Crowder, turn on your video.
Oh.
It's
I'll
in
try.
the lower left,
I'm
lower left
driving.
corner.
Let me wait till I get home.
Oh, all right. Don't worry about it.
I'm
So-
driving right now.
All right. So
where are you driving? Where are you?
I'm in central Pennsylvania.
Oh,
A friend of mine was having a show and I really wanted to see it. And so I'm doing double duty basically.
Oh, that's cool. So
Yeah, I got to see a piece of it. So I'm satisfied.
right on. We're on the line here with Eddie Shaw from the Monks and Myshel Prasad.
Cool.
I sense that you're a solo artist currently. Is that right, Myshel?
No, I just started a new project with Roger Green, who's the guitarist from
cool.
the Czars, and many other projects. Plays
Yeah, I
with Ron
know
Miles
Roger.
and other folks. Yeah. So we're going to be in the studio in Denver actually in the first week of November, and
Excellent.
with Kit will be joining us from Space Team, and a
Cool.
couple
And
other
what-
Oh,
folks.
cool.
What's the name of the new project?
I don't know. You want to give me some ideas?
Well, I think something might come out of this mix of minds here. You might come up with the perfect phrase. Mix of minds, there's one. And just
I want to
see
hear
what
your
else comes
ideas,
up.
Mr. Shaw.
My
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
Name my band.
Okay, so now what's the basics? I need to know the basics. What's the basic
Okay.
thing, the premise?
There's about 5 guitar amps, intense volume, but highly melodic and highly affected sounds, male and female vocals, and sort of weave-like drums, but with a powerful backbeat.
Wave like drums.
Wow, that's too much to describe. I don't know how to describe that.
I'm getting
It's loud.
I would say too much.
Let's just go
I'm
with it's
getting-
loud.
Huh?
It's loud. We'll just go with
Oh.
that.
Oh, yeah, it's loud. There
Who
you go.
wants to
Loud.
say something? I heard two.
Oh, I don't know why the word cubensis just jumped in my head, but
Cubensis.
Hey,
yeah.
That's what it sounds like
the,
a creature from the Hellraiser movies. The Cubensis.
I
That
That might be good.
real word.
I think it's a kind of mushroom.
What
Even
kind of
better.
mushroom is that?
I think it's a psychedelic mushroom,
Huh.
but there you go.
All right. Well, thank
that's-
you.
Yeah, that's it. Just kind of popped in my head, so
Job is
offer
done.
that
That's
up.
what they do. So Duke Crowder is one of the most talented singer-songwriters I've ever met. I'm sure you still are. I missed your last show, Duke. I apologize. And Eddie Shaw is an icon from the old times. Myshel Prasad is another new breed singer, songwriter, musician. I'm mostly a writer. I've done some music, not much.
I'm familiar with all three of you,
Excellent.
or I'm aware of all three of you.
Me
Well,
too.
aware, is good. It's just being aware. Be aware.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wary
Let's
of all
share
of
your
you.
awareness. Yeah.
So we've got a few other people who are supposed to show up. I'm glad you guys all made it. Did you know that Jazz Butcher died too? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I heard that. I saw that on Twitter.
Oh, what a shame. He was a really good guy. And I'm dedicating the podcast tonight to Pat Fish's memory. He was a really good guy. And nobody knows much about him besides me, but I don't want to be talking about the Jazz Butcher all night. So I'm just going to make that dedication.
Was he, I'm sorry, Zach, I really don't, and other than the name, I just don't remember much about him. He was a songwriter?
Yeah, he's a songwriter, a singer-songwriter. He was best friends with David J. And he knew all those cats from Love and Rockets. He grew up with them, and he toured. David J was in his band a couple times. He was in David J's band. And he just never became world famous like Love and Rockets or Bauhaus, but he definitely easily could have. And the real great thing about him is just that he was such a nice guy. He seemed to have a way of making everyone feel like his biggest fan, his closest friend, or at least a friend, like just a casual, cool friendship kind of thing. It was never any star fan kind of relationship. He was always just a good guy. And I feel like, why not dedicate the whole podcast to Pat Fish? I didn't expect him to die, of course. I had already, set up this podcast with writers and rockers, and then Pat Fish dies.
How old was he?
He was born in 1957. So he's 60, maybe? How old would you be? It's 57 to 21.
I don't know. That's math. I don't understand math.
Minus 7 plus. Yeah, I'm not sure. He was
He'd be in his late 60s, I think.
It was too soon. It was too soon. He was a very youthful guy, however old he was. And yeah,
Can you share a lyric of his? Do you have some favorite lyric?
He has so many. God, oh man. There's a song called Party Time. You should all look for Party Time on YouTube. It's the greatest song. There's a song called Caroline Wheeler's Birthday Present, another great song. There's a song called Drink. He was a big drinker, this guy. I mean, I drink sometimes. I don't, he was like all about drinking, but in a classy, cultured way. And those are 3 songs off the top of my head. There's also one called What's the Matter, Boy, that you should all listen to. And there's one called The Good Ones you should all listen to. But I'll keep it simple and just Party Time. You'll remember that. Look for Party Time. And we're waiting for Nadia Zold and Adu or Myshel. Have you ever heard of a rock journalist named Lon Friend?
Say that again. What was the first name?
His name is Lon, Lonn, Friend.
I don't think so.
Well, he's been published in a lot of places, and he's written a couple of memoirs. And Nadia Zold had said she would invite him. I don't know if it came through or not, and she hasn't shown up yet, but she probably will.
Well, good.
Yeah. So, and Mark Sofranco is supposed to show up, and Nancy Stallman is supposed to show up, and they have not shown up.
Oh my God.
You know Nancy Stallman?
Yeah. I haven't seen Nancy, I think, since she went to the West Bank.
Oh, I hope she makes it.
That was a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
Let's see. So, does any of you know who Rob Bresney is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know who he is, Eddie? He's
I've
the
heard
guy
of
who wrote Pronoia, the book about deliberately rewiring your consciousness to expect positivity.
Yes,
Oh.
And
I,
he was in a band.
Yeah,
I
he
remember
was in a
Entertainment
band. I,
Award.
I forget the name.
World Entertainment War, and they recorded with Sandy Pearlman, who we recorded with in
Excellent.
the late 90s. Yep.
Huh.
I saw all his
Oh.
tapes in the studio, actually.
Wow. How were they good? I bet they were pretty good. I'm guessing.
Well, I saw them. I didn't hear them.
All right.
I'm sure they were great.
They looked good.
Because I've always admired the guy for having the gumption to just say, like, no, don't be paranoid, be pronoid, and just rewire what you're expecting and just look differently and see differently. I always admired that kind of rebellious upstart thing in like radical positivity kind of thing. And so if Mark Sofranco was here, we could talk about this, but it seems like culture is becoming more programmatic, like the whole cancel culture thing. And I'm not going to go on a rant about that. I don't do politics, but was talking to Mark Sofranco about that. And the other day, Angela Black, okay. Sorry, getting a call here. So the other day I was on Facebook and that Mark Rob Bresney had posted something about will you be this kind of optimist or this kind of optimist? And it was a long drawn out thing like, will you be the gullible, careless optimist who just, relaxes and doesn't do anything right? Or will you be the positive, right thinking optimist? And I just don't like those absolutist kind of this or that kind of delineations. So I said, I choose both. And I mean, I was being a troublemaker. There was nothing to it. I was just being contrary. And he wrote back and said, so you would be a gullible, careless optimist? And I thought, like, well, everything happens eventually. It might happen, And I said, some depending on the circumstance.
who's
And
not
then I felt
gullible
like,
and careless?
huh?
Who's not
Yeah, right,
gullible and careless?
right. I mean, it happens to us all, right? But there's this programmatic thing of like always do the right thing, always, and it's true you should always try to do the right thing, but like I don't like absolutism. So I said I'll
the
do
right thing and I
both.
walk into a glass window.
Yeah. And he said, so you'd be a careless, gullible optimist? I said, depending on the circumstance. Then I felt like he deserves a better explanation. I went to say more, and he had blocked me. That guy of all people, Rob Bresney, blocked me. Man. So I learned my lesson. And then the next thing that happened, because I wrote a book about the Beat Generation several years ago, and people are always comparing me to the Beat Generation. And I hate it when they do that. So I posted something and somebody was like, oh, I really like that Visions of Cody style. And I decided like, I'm not going to stand for this. And I, don't compare me to the Beat Generation. And then I realized I was doing the same thing to him that Rob Bresney did to me. So I went and apologized for it. And that's just by way of, because I wanted to be a nice guy. I didn't want to just blow people off like that. I mean, and it's just life, and I'm just making conversation here. I don't have any big point to deliver. I'm just filling dead air.
Just tell him I hate you, but call me.
Huh?
Tell him I hate you, but call me.
Yeah, right.
I like that.
Good advice from the monks.
Hey, Zack,
So-
how come it bothers you when people make Beat Generation comparisons?
Why does it bother me?
Yeah.
Is that what you said? Because
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the Beat Generation in any way. I mean, I just wrote that book because somebody offered me the chance to write this book, and I thought, oh, I can write that book, And I mean, I was influenced by the Beat Generation when I was 15, but like everybody was probably, And
What is
I've
Beat
gone way beyond that influence, and I just don't like being
Mm.
compared retroactively like that, I suppose. And it's a pigeonhole. Who do you always get
everyone,
compared to?
no one's gonna know everyone meets what you do at a certain point. So they're going to pigeonhole it when they first
That's
encounter
true.
you in a million
That's
different
true.
ways, and you just have to kind of let them do that, I think.
All right.
And
That's
and
good.
and it's a, you know, think of it as a positive thing, because they're, you know, they're interacting with your work on some level, and it's like that's the gateway to them kind of learning more about you, you know,
Right
if you're
on.
like, you
Thanks
know,
for that advice.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's
that's
always going to be
something.
some sort of comparison or some sort of contextualizing that isn't necessarily pigeonholing. And I mean, you know,
You're
everybody
right.
hears everything that way. Like, oh, it sounds like
Don't
William
compare me.
Shatner singing
Yeah.
over Schoenberg. They were on it, you know, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
it's
so
just,
I,
I mean, that
I
is a
mean, I
touch.
get that. I get that one a lot.
The William Shatner thing.
oh no, but I imagine everyone here gets compared to someone, and then they're like, don't compare me to that XYZ person again.
Oh,
Who
not
do you always,
Shatner again.
yeah, like, but it's not Shatner. So who do you always get compared to?
Um,
Is there anyone, or are you just too
I don't
unique?
know. No, I mean, I think I I remember people saying like Neil Young or something like that, because I feel like that myself, or I feel like I'm doing a Neil Young. Um, or
All right.
but I do I don't know. I feel like I do kind of like characters. Like sometimes I'll be doing a Bowie, or I'll be doing a Ozzy or something like that.
Wow.
Um, but you know, and sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you remind me of my three favorite guys, like John Mayer and you know, people that I think are kind of lame." But
Yeah, John Mayer. That's the one I'm looking for. The one that you don't like.
but I always,
I
you
know
know,
that-
it's always kind of like, oh, that's what you like, so you're, you know, and I appealed to you on the John Mayer wavelength or something, you know. So
That's fair.
I, you know, I
Yeah,
take it, I try to take it graciously, but
that's the
I
way
don't
to
think like
go.
I'm a John Mayer, you know, I'm copying John Mayer or something like that. I
Right.
don't,
No.
you know, what they think is not, it has nothing to do, it has very little to do with me or what I think about myself. So.
It's interesting to me you said Ozzy. What's the Ozzy influence in your work?
Yeah.
I love Ozzy. And sometimes, you know, without thinking, I do like, I'll mimic different uh, vocal stylings of people without really thinking about it.
Wow.
Certain phrases will just kind of fit into um, somebody's shtick or something, you know, or somebody's the way their voice sounds. You know? So sometimes I'll be doing something that sounds like Ozzy, but I mean I'm nowhere near Ozzy's like ability. I don't think I'm a great singer or anything. I just I'm just doing an Ozzy, you know.
Would you be willing
So
to
But
bite
yeah,
the
that's what
head
I'm
off? Would you be willing to bite the head off of anything?
I was going to ask you
at.
that.
I do that. Yeah, I do that too. So just
Good, good.
you
I'm glad
know,
to hear it.
getting into the spirit of it.
Right.
Usually not on stage, but just at home, you know.
Right.
In private.
Yeah, I would never do that on stage.
Yeah, you don't want to show people you do it.
So you can't sing like
It's been
Ozzy,
done.
but you
It's been
do
done.
recreationally decapitate things with your teeth. That's what you're
Exactly.
saying? Okay.
Exactly.
Recreationally. So Myshel, you're a resource development officer now? Or was that a past title?
I do develop resources, Zach.
Was this
Everywhere.
a former job title though? Were you in charge of like?
I don't even know what my job title is. I'm freelance. I'm a contractor.
Perfect. Well,
What's your job title, Zach?
I'm a freelance writer and an independent hybrid publisher and a podcast host.
You're a hybrid? That's so modern.
Independent hybrid publisher.
Hybrid,
Which,
cyborg.
you know what that means, Sonia. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it just means like you're a self-starting, but you have like taste and preference in what you publish.
So what do you think about the word cyborg, Zach? You know, do you have it like a fear or anticipation or excitement? Do you feel like you're already a cyborg?
No, interesting. Well, transhumanism, I think it's potentially bad, potentially good. It might not be a bad thing at all, or it could like go really horribly wrong. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't know. When you said hybrid, I started thinking about it. In the context of this discussion, maybe what's interesting is as music becomes right, yeah. So we've already dealt with music moving out of the analog space and into the digital space. But what if when all instrumentation is increasingly in the digital space? How do we feel about that?
I was talking about that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was talking about that with Safranco at the last podcast about everything might become automated. Every creative venture might become automated.
Mhm.
Writing, music, anything at all, art, anything creative. But I mean, I don't think that'll happen, but it's something that I could be worried about if I wanted to be worried.
Well, should it be worried about? Is that something that should be looked at as potentially liberatory?
Excellent point.
I don't really like the idea of automated writing and music and whatnot. I know there are people doing that, and I feel like I'm gonna have to be in the same room while that is playing for me to hear that. That's one of the things that I'm just, it makes me not want to hear it, kind of.
Yeah.
Is anybody else like that? I mean,
Well,
it
thing
seems
is-
like it's I equate it with kind of randomness in a way.
I like the randomness.
I like randomness too. Maybe that's not a good way to characterize it, but I just
I like the thing that somebody doesn't expect to hear and it comes out, just pops out wherever it came from, there it is. And it's no excuse one way or another, technologically or anything else. It's just there.
That's the weird aspect that appeals to me.
yeah.
That aspect, that sort of strange loop, sort of
Because-
unanticipated kind of chaos influence, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's interesting.
So does it have to have the element of the hybrid element of some kind of reaction from the human or maybe an animal? I don't know.
Well,
Just a conscious direction.
Say more about that, dude. Say more about this. Maybe an animal.
I have my dog bark and then I get him on the keyboard and move him up and down the scale. He's written me a song.
Is
But
there
he-
anybody
but-
else to hear this?
Huh?
Can we hear this?
I'd have to lose you, but I could play it.
Yeah, you'd have to lose me. I'm out for that. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you know, you're choosing which riff that the dog did that you liked, right? It's not just the first one, right?
No, he goes woof, and then I go.
It's kind of like the cut up. It's like a cut up, like the way you would employ the cut up method. You're like,
Well, it's like
something jumps out at you, kind of.
I was reading Zack's book, and he had a quotation in there. It wasn't a quotation. He says, riff, riff, raff,
Oh, Rick
riff,
Rook.
raff. I thought,
Rick Rook.
yeah, Rick,
Rook.
rack. And I thought, that's my dog. My dog just did that. And the
Yeah.
thing is, see, they're communicating, and we just have to record it, and we'll get it.
Right.
They'll teach us a lesson. They'll say, "Shut up, you bastard."
My problem with the automated writing is that I've devoted all my like expectation and energy to expecting to be a writer and to like contacting the spirit or the subconscious and like rendering, you know, art with my writing. And that's a big ego hang up. So like it's not good to have ego hang ups. So I can see the liberation in that sense. But I'm also somebody who doesn't really have any marketable skills otherwise yet anyway. So I still want to like stake my, you know, make my stake via art, via writing, music, art, some kind of creativity. And if
Yeah,
it's all in the hands of randomized computers, that would leave me, you know, without a prospect.
You gotta let somebody else discover that for you. And tell you what to do.
It's always
Well,
good to change your
Lori
habits.
Anderson just gave a very interesting talk where, you know, she does uses so much technology in such an interesting way, really throughout her career. But it always comes back to the flesh, right? To the human form, the human breath, the human body. And she's also been doing some experiments with AI where the way she describes it is she's actually just speaking with her own mind, because all the AI can learn initially is, you know, the algorithms are based on what you've given it. So while she finds that interesting and intriguing to see what the AI gives back to her, she really feels like, at least at this stage, that it never will advance to a place of true wakefulness, of I think you could say true creativity. And that some of our fears about AI taking over are entirely overblown, which may be absolutely be true in the creative space. I think in a commercial sense, our fears of AI are absolutely well founded in the commercial and really in the political sense. So maybe as artists, as creators, that's really a space that we can carve out, sort of the righteous use of AI. You know,
like
let the agents of chaos to come forward and show the rest of the world, as they're slowly getting more penetrated by this regimented form, algorithmic forms, about how to juice that up a little bit, how to make that a little more, I won't even say a little more human, because I love that you mentioned your dog, you know, a little more embodied. And I'm stressing that because I've been getting so into, I've been living in New Mexico for a little while. You know, my home is in Los Angeles, but I've been living in New Mexico, and you know, I'm just surrounded by creature sounds all the time, and
Yeah,
creature pulse and creature timing. Yeah.
They
Go ahead.
create music. If you listen to it,
Yeah.
they created music.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The crickets, the cicadas.
Yeah.
Coyotes.
Yeah. Nice.
The rattlesnakes.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Where
you
are
know
you?
what?
Where
You
am I?
guys talk amongst
Yeah.
yourselves. I'm going to contact some
I'm in
others
Reno,
by email.
Nevada.
Okay. Yeah, it's great out there.
Where?
Reno, Nevada.
Oh,
I grew up here, but I was gone for 30 years and came back. What happened?
I'm
I'll
curious.
be right back.
I'm curious, Eddie, how your band, The Monks, how did you, how'd you arrive at what you were doing? What was it? A lot of stuff that you guys were listening to? It seems like.
No, it wasn't anything we were listening to. We were on stage 7 nights a week, 6 hours a night. On Sundays, it was 8 hours, and we would mess with the audience. And the thing is, if we saw everybody looking at us like they loved us, we knew we were a failure. If we saw everybody just not paying any attention to us, we knew we were a failure. But if we played with them and we got them arguing among each other and pointing at us like, what are they doing up there, you know? Then we knew we were getting onto something, and you experiment. And actually, the Beatles talked about the same thing. I think George Harrison and somebody said that they did the same thing. And it's just a
Well, it sounds like you both have in common the incredibly long sets, and you were playing. I mean, it was you were both in Germany, right?
right. Well, in Germany, you got booked by the month in different clubs, and you played every night, no nights off. And
Wow.
and so, but we would get a certain night off for what they call a Trauertag, a sad day, a day of grieving for some national reason. We had 3 of those days off in a year. In 3 years, we might have had about 7 or 8 days off. And basically, the market was so great for rock at that time that you could work every night in every town. And when we got to be monks, we were playing 3 different gigs a day in 3 different towns a day. One in the
Wow.
afternoon, one in the early evening, and then one later, the late night show. And every one of you play 1 hour, pack up, run, move to the next town, play one right there, pack up, move, run to the next town, play one right there.
Wow.
And that's what we did.
It sounds like you would it'd be exhausting.
Well, we never thought about it because that was the life. That was our life.
Yeah.
And you had been in the army, right? You were all young GIs, right?
Yeah.
True.
Well, I was supposed to be in the army band playing trumpet, and I was assigned to the 6th Army Band in San Francisco Presidio, where Chet Baker and all these guys played. And I was really honored by it. But the thing was, it was so close to Reno, Nevada. I says, I want to see the world. Can I go someplace else? I says, sure. I says, can I play in a band there? I says, sure. I found myself in an artillery band, in an artillery unit with no bands there. And so then I played drums in one group for a little while, and then I picked up the bass and played the bass with these 2 guys, Gary Berger and Dave Day. And it started from there.
Yeah. And was it Larry who always wore gloves?
Yeah.
Larry always wearing gloves. That was such a great book. All the characters are depicted so colorfully in excellent style.
Well, it's funny.
I know you weren't talking about Larry just now, but that was stuck in my mind. Go on.
Yeah. Well, Larry's he's in Nashville. I don't know what he's doing there. I played in Nashville. I played with the producer who produced Bob Dylan and Simon Garfunkel. I was a trumpet player then.
Huh?
And so I was better known as a trumpet player. A bass player, I was known just for those grinding noises, I made.
Right.
And you know, it's you talk about music, what it can be. Well, you can make music out of anything.
Sure. And you guys, you other musicians here, if you know of Eddie only via the Monks, you should check out his jazz work, check out the hydraulic pigeons, all the other stuff he's done. Anything else you want to promote here right now?
Well, do I want to promote?
Yeah, anything.
Well, I'll promote my next band, my next book is going to be out in about a month, called Passing Through Minnesota, SODA, and Other Altered States.
I'm looking forward to that.
I'll send you one.
Excellent, thank you. I'll get it reviewed. I guess we
Okay.
already made
Is it
that deal.
is it fiction or is it another memoir?
It's a fantasized memoir
Oh, cool.
because
I like that.
I printed part of it out, sent it to a couple of people. One of the producers in Nashville got it, and something happened, but I got threatening phone calls from saying if I published it, I could find myself in deep trouble. So
Wow.
so
Oh,
I'm too stupid to stop. I'll keep going, and it whatever happens. But I fantasized it, changed names, and invented enough that nobody can tell what's real and what's not.
Excellent.
You
Which
should
brings-
quote that email and put it on the back of your book.
What?
You should quote that email and put it on the back of your book.
Oh, the email. Well, what it was a song. It was a song, and it was on an answering machine, and it was all these different people singing one song, one note, one note, one note. And at the end, it breaks, says, "You fuck with me, and I'll fuck with you."
Wow.
Wow. Someone put a lot of work into that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
no kidding.
anyway, it's all good. I'm not worried.
Right on. That's the way to be.
I'm 80 years old, you know.
What?
You're looking.
wow.
You're,
Well, I'm 82 actually. I forget 2 years.
wow.
You look really
Hallelujah.
good.
So
You look great.
I do.
Yeah.
Your
I
hair
would
grew
have
back.
thought you were. I would have thought you were in your 60s or something.
No, I'm way too late. Anyway,
Well-
I've enjoyed talking to you guys.
May we all be that late.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember how Patty, she changed the lyrics to My Generation tonight. And it was something like, I made it through all of your bullshit. That's why I've lived through it. She was kind of like changing the whole hope I die before I get old. It was more like,
Interesting.
fuck you all, I got old. I did live through it.
All right.
Yes.
Well, I've enjoyed having you, Eddie. Are you trying to say goodnight?
Okay. Well,
You're saying goodnight. You don't have to, but
yeah, I've
you
got
want
to
to take
go.
off.
I've got to go. So, but I enjoyed talking to all of you.
All right.
Great pleasure.
Likewise.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Give your dog a kiss for
I'll
us.
look forward to your book.
Okay. Good night.
Good night.
Great. Wow, that was a real honor. So I don't know. I was expecting a couple more guests. So I just sent them an email. So if they're around, they'll get it. They'll log in late. What else is going on with you, Du? I didn't have much time with you when you were in Denver last. What's going on in Pennsylvania? How's it been since you came back to State College?
It's been, I guess, it's kind of depressing here.
Are you staying
I'm-
with your parents?
No, I'm staying in their old house, but I'm staying actually in the room where my dad died, and
Oh,
and my mom is dying now, so it's a lot of dealing with that, and maybe I should pick a different room to stay in, but it
Might
doesn't
be
really
smart.
it doesn't bother me, but it's
do you think
just
do you think you moved your stuff in there out of a need for closeness or an urge to be close to your
I
father?
think it's just it's the biggest room, and maybe I didn't want to be in my old room. I think
Oh, right.
was part of it, but really, I'm keeping the house empty because I kind of like it empty. But I'm just setting up a drum kit here and setting up a bunch of recording stuff. But when I had a friend over the other day, and he was like, wow, it's depressing here, I was like, oh, I hope this isn't bumming you out. He was like, no, he just thought, living here would be depressing. But
Yeah,
I
that's an understandable assumption. Deduction.
yeah, I just don't
Surmise.
I've lived in so many places that were other people's places, you know, in the last whatever 10 years or something like that, that I don't really need anything, and I don't head, you know. I don't really need stuff around me, it seems like. And so
Right.
I'm just kind of trying to maybe like paint the walls or something, do something to like maybe counterbalance that a little bit.
And live in the desolation. Well, I can relate to that. I've got so many books. I've had like books and books and books and books for years and years. And every time I move, I have to move all these books. And I hardly ever read any of them. You know, I read maybe 5 to 10 books per 3 months. And it's usually not the books I've already read. So I can relate to that positive aspect of digitizing all your books instead of having to carry around shelves and shelves with you everywhere you go. Like
Yeah.
I've wanted to do that for a long time. I've never taken a step to do it, but I'd like to get everything onto a flash drive so it's just this big, you know, instead of like 18 bookcases. Well, there's maybe
Yeah.
5 or
And then burn the flash drive.
well, you want, you
Wow,
know, I
you're
did
deep in it, aren't you, Duke?
funny. This is funny
I
because
I don't know. I'm so deep in it. I don't know what you mean
Yeah.
by that.
Are you
Oh,
writing
here.
it all while you're there?
I have like little routines. I write down my dreams, and I'm always like writing voice memos on my phone. I have like thousands of voice memos, and like writing like notes on my phone, which I really don't like writing like that, but it's just, if I'm out, I'll forget whatever idea it is if I don't write it on my phone, you know. So that's how it's
Yeah.
like little pieces, like little disconnected pieces, a lot of it, until, you know, I prefer the things to write whenever it's like a bigger thing, a bigger piece, you know. How
you
about you?
prefer the things to write. You prefer writing bigger things. You mean?
I
Is that what
prefer
you mean?
when something, I prefer when something just kind of, there's like an entire, whatever it is, entire
Sure. Just an
manuscript, like
inspiration for a whole
a,
big project.
a script, yeah, or a book or a story, instead of just a, you know, a cool line or something like that, or like
But those
an
things,
image.
those sometimes become greatness too, though, you know. And I know you know.
Oh yeah, you don't want to reject any of them. It's just it is nice when you don't have to put the pieces together yourself. It's just kind of like
I
it
agree.
just happens all at once. Yeah.
Now that's an interesting thing. Okay, I'm about to start leading a group on channeling. This is something I know a lot about. I've read about it a lot, and I've always done automatic or spontaneous prose. So I'm about to start leading a group on a workshop or a group on channeling. That's an interesting idea when you think about the automation concept. Like how are you going to channel if it's all like computerized and objectified? You know what I mean? Like you would lose that aspect of inspiration where you just get inspired to write a book or write a song or a poem or draw.
Well, it doesn't have to be either or, you know.
But it is though, because how could a computer ever?
That assumes a computer can't get inspired.
You would lose your own
But
ability.
you can, I
Like
mean,
you would lose
you
your
can
own
kind of,
connection with that creation.
like for instance, I might channel something, and then when I have, I guess you're talking about the AI kind of input, but you know, I don't think it needs to be this pure thing. I'm just saying the channel thing, that's Monday's creation, and the computer thing is Tuesday's creation, you know. That's all.
All right, yeah, that's fair. That's
don't
fair. I
know.
just, I guess I'm reacting to it as an either or thing because it seems like computers are always portrayed anyway as taking over the function, like taking over the utility of whatever the thing is you're trying to have them do instead of you doing it. So it would sort of
Right.
like remove your inspiration process if you're just letting the computer, just plugging things in and letting the computer do something. But I'm just theorizing about something that doesn't even exist yet in my reality. So never mind. Just something to think about.
Yeah, I think that bothers me about it too. You know, I think my favorite stuff is, maybe this just is just like basic or goes without saying, but I just like things that um it's someone is rendering some experience that I see, I'm like, yeah, that's me. Or, oh
Sure.
wow, that's they did that. Sometimes they do it in such a way that you're not sure that's what they're talking about. It's just kind of awakens that thought for you.
Yeah.
And I don't see a computer doing that because
No, I don't either. But the thing is, like, the
but
masses might get used to the computer doing it and forget that they're the ones who are supposed to be contacting whatever it is, God or the spirit or the subconscious or creativity or inspiration,
I think
whatever it is.
I think you could use a little pronoia in this instance. I think there's everything's going in every direction, and so you don't have to worry about things going in this one direction of computer. I don't think
Mm.
I'm not worried
like
though. I'm
for
just
everybody
associating
that's
with the
doing like
podcast.
pure, huh?
I'm not really worried. I'm just like introducing topics for conversation.
And
But
I'm
go ahead.
I'm
Go ahead. I'm
responding to
sorry
it.
to
Yeah,
interrupt.
I think for every you know pure computer creation, there's somebody who's repulsed by that and who is doing the opposite. So
I would rather not have any repulsion in my
well, you
experience.
don't have to. I'm just talking about the like things going out in
Tell that
360
to
degrees.
Gore.
What?
Not to start a fight, but I'm looking for the art experience where it's just creativity and there's no I'm doing this because they're doing that. It's just like I'm doing this and it's done.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
doing
no.
it. It's doing it.
Well, somebody's gonna do it or
Yeah,
not do it.
that's true. That's absolutely true.
Well, Zach, I think you're, quite rightly raising your voice in defense of the, human endeavor towards transcendence and uplifting each other and translating the sublime and the secrets that we're privy to and the darkest spaces of our sacred psyches.
Well,
I know what you're referring to. And I'm there. That's where I create from. But I
Nice.
also recall that the first sort of driving musical teacher that I had was our fucking refrigerator. I would go down in the middle of the night because I had insomnia as a child and, still do, obviously, since it's almost 4 a.m. here. And would
Wait,
huddle.
where are you now?
I'm in Paris.
Oh, okay.
I'm in the like cafeteria of the hotel.
I thought you were in
in
New
the
Mexico.
basement.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Someday Mexico City is on the list. But I would just cuddle into the refrigerator down at the bottom of the vent where it would have that like 60 cycles.
Wow.
And that's definitely something that comes through in the way that I approach the guitar. I care more about that than sort of like the Ingve virtuosity. I've never cared about that. I've never been attracted to that. It's that sonic cycle. Yeah. So there definitely is like a machine influence in what I do, but I feel it in a very embodied way.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
and I'm
definitely
expressing that way. And when you hear it, you're hearing it, you know, through totally organic instruments, right? And you can only process it through your organic being. So
right.
I mean, there is a little bit of a cyborg element already happening, but you know, not literally. Like Elon Musk doesn't have his neoliberal chips in our brains quite yet.
Yeah.
That I'm not ready for.
No, I don't think. I think I would rebel against that if that became like a popular trend. I would probably be a holdout for the normal brain.
Have you ever seen that Twilight Zone episode where everybody is buying? They're supposed to, at a certain stage of life, like buy these young, perfect bodies, and they all look the same. Have you seen that?
Oh, I
No.
think so.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
That is the dystopia, right?
And that seems to be in the offing. I've heard. I mean, I've just heard it. I can't cite the source, but it seems like people are thinking about doing that sort of thing and prolonging their lives and indefinitely.
People have wanted to do that forever, you know.
I know, but now
They
they've
do,
got
but
all
nobody
these
asks, do we deserve
technological
to?
things.
Yeah.
Nobody what?
Nobody asks if we deserve to.
Well, they
Now.
might, yeah. I guess
But the thing
what
is,
we
man,
deserve.
reincarnation is fundamental, in my opinion, is fundamental to human experience. Reincarnation, being reincarnated over and
I
over
think,
and
I
over.
think, yeah, I
And
think
if you try to
people,
prolong one life indefinitely,
Yeah.
you're gonna fuck that up somehow. I mean, I can't tell you how, but
Kurzweil, Ray Kurzweil.
Yeah.
transhumanism, yeah.
I just
The
got a book of
singularity.
his, but you know, when you're talking about do we deserve that, it's kind of like I think that's kind of like one version of hell in a way. I don't think that's
Be in the same life forever, that would be hellish, yeah. I think so.
or to just want to just not accept natural decline and disintegration or whatever,
To
you know,
not accept
that happens.
mental decline and disintegration. Is that what you said?
Well,
To not accept.
just the natural, you know, course of life and death. That's all. Is like,
Yeah.
it's not about the individual, you know. It's about the individual goes through their arc, and that's what it is, you know. If there's like I don't know if you there's this guy in the Castaneda books they called him the Resident, and he was this sorcerer who was able to live for thousands of years, you know. And he was kind of like a pitiable character, you know.
Yeah, I think I remember that character.
Yeah, but you know, it was just, I don't know, there's something evil about it to me. Or I mean, I'm not saying it's not, it's just it's
Something corrupt, maybe, is a better word. I don't know.
well, it's just kind of, it's maybe immature, I guess, or just kind of
selfish or self-centered.
yeah, and just like clenching on to this
Yeah,
thing that would be better to just let go of, you know.
yeah, I agree with that.
Well, that's a profound
But
thing.
I mean,
to say.
I'd do it in a second, but I'm just, anyway.
That's a profound thing to say in the circumstances that you're in right now.
For
So
sure.
I just want to know that, number
Okay.
one.
Much strength to you. Strength and
Yeah,
love to you, Crowder.
Yeah, living through the death of a loved one is excruciating,
Yeah.
and it's very hard to maintain the perspective that you're expressing when, you know, the one thing you want is for that person not to die. So that's beautiful, dude. And I think you're
Thank
right.
you.
I don't even know that I believe that we have a legitimate self. This idea that we have these precious, unique, special selves that must be maintained no matter what. I don't think I even believed that during life,
Yeah.
let alone that it's something that should persist eternally. Yeah. So there's something about death that allows that self to become transparent. And as painful as that is, because unfortunately in that transparency process, we're also experiencing, kidney shutdown and, we commit the sin of being ugly. We commit the sin of smelling badly. We commit the sin of
being helpless.
Yeah, of being helpless. But all those things are, in a way, beatitudes. All those things, in a way, are moments of perfection.
Yeah.
I agree that there is no singular self and there is no singular truth. And I think human life is all about changing. And most people in the West, in this city, in this country, have not been trained to believe that. So like people do hold on really tightly to what they think they are. And I think that we limit ourselves when we do that. Not that I don't sometimes do it. I think we all probably do it sometimes,
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing that
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I think
guys,
it's a natural desire.
So what else is on people's minds? We're at a loss for guests. We've been here almost an hour, so we could pretty much wind down. Is there anything anyone else would like to say?
Zack, why don't you remind me what your theme was today? I don't think Du heard it.
Yeah,
Did you hear the theme?
No.
Well, I told you that writers and
You weren't
rockers.
properly inducted
Oh.
into the.
It's all about people who are writers or rock and roll musicians or creatively inclined who have chosen to follow that, vocation and make their lives out of art or creativity. So we had Eddie Shaw from the Monks, someone who's definitely a testament to that, and Myshel Prasad and her new band. It doesn't have a name yet, but it's going to be great. And Duke Crowder,
Myshel,
the great Duke Crowder.
it's really cool to meet you. I've heard about you.
Did you want
I
to say
feel like I
something?
might have.
So cool to
Oh,
meet you too.
And
how fun to meet you like this.
Yeah. Hopefully we can meet in person someday. And Zack, it's really great to see you too.
Always good to see you, man, and much strength and love to you.
Thank you. Thanks, man.
Well, here's a question. What's most important as artists in how we create while the fucking world is burning? What's most important to you, I should say?
To me, I don't think that the world burning has relevance to my creativity. I don't think that my creativity has any part in politics. I think that creativity, which becomes political, has lost something of the divine. And I'm not religious. I'm not like worshiping any particular sect or creed. I'm just saying the divine, the ineffable creativity, creation, inspiration, I think is better than politics in my case anyway. And I might change that, but at the moment, I'm not preoccupied with the world's troubles. I'm trying to look beyond it or like elsewhere, elsewise.
That feels true even related to the climate.
Yeah, because I don't think the climate is real unless I believe in it or care about it. And I don't really pay attention to people worrying and, I don't do that. So
Are forests real?
I'm here to create and make beautiful art and beautiful writing and beautiful music, and maybe that'll help. And if they want to worry
Well, if you
about
say the climate isn't real, are forests real?
No, I don't think it isn't real. I'm just saying I don't choose to focus there.
Okay.
I don't choose to focus on things that are burning and dying. That's not where I do the most good. I do the most good inspiring, creating, and entertaining.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm glad for what everyone is doing, and I'm not against anything that anyone is doing.
Well, that's sweet and nectar filled. What about you, Duke?
Right.
I guess it's touch and go. It's day to day for me. I mean, I relate to what Zach's saying because I think we still, we just, the most important things to me are still just moments with other people. And so if I, that's something, if I'm striving to kind of portray things like that, and I am most affected by things like that, I'm also, it kind of, I feel like everything is a different in this new context of, oh, is this, are we gonna be extinct soon? Is everything going to disappear soon?
Going to do anyone to think that way? I'm interrupting you though. Pardon me.
I'm not saying it's doing good. I'm just saying it seems like
how many things are
like
going extinct?
It might
They
happen.
just put like 20 new things on the extinction list. Yeah.
But haven't they been always going extinct and being reborn all this time?
Not at this rate.
Were they measuring? I mean, didn't they just?
Well, I mean, if you want to go into like the Permian extinction, yeah, that was a much more massive extinction.
I just feel like people give science too much authority. People give science religious, creative authority, and I don't think it's the right thing to do. I know it's what everyone's doing, so I'm a heretic. But
I don't think you're wrong. I just look at the science too. I'm like kind of maybe I'm like a dilettante like that. Or like a mosquito. I'll take like a little bit of science. I'll take a little bit of not science. Yeah, I'm a magpie. So it crosses my mind. I'll say that.
I take the position that there are things that we don't know. There are things that we don't know. No matter how much science figures out, there's something you don't know, science. And I'm not saying I know it either, but I take great comfort in believing it.
Yeah, I think we don't know most things. But I still am like reckoning with this idea of everything changing, and
that's fair. That's
what I had hoped to happen as an artist, and what is like contributing in this context that is becoming totally different and like disappearing kind of.
I can't ignore societal changes, but I do my best, and I think I do a pretty good job of it. But I can notice overarching changes in like behavior in society. I was already talking about it, the programmatic sort of mindset that seems to be starting to predominate about what's good and bad and right and wrong, et cetera, instead of letting it be wide open and free. But I'm not political at all, so don't mistake me for a libertarian or anything like that. I'm not even playing that game at all.
I know. I've read enough of your writing to know where you're coming from, and as far as that concerned, I feel like,
But this is a podcast for public consumption too, so I feel
right. Okay.
Live up to whatever I'm trying to talk about and delineate.
Right. That's fair. I forgot.
Right. So thanks for coming here tonight, you guys, and thanks Eddie Shaw and everybody.
Yeah.
Please go listen to Party Time by the Jazz Butcher, or listen to a few songs by the Jazz Butcher. This podcast tonight is dedicated to Pat Fish.
So to Pat Fish, to both of you, to everyone, I guess if the world is burning, we all just have to burn a little brighter.
Just enjoy
Yeah.
it.
I'll agree with that.
Great to see you, Myshel.
I don't
Great
have
to see
anything
you.
to add. You too.
Good to see
Love
you.
to you guys.
I'll send you guys a recording when I've got one.
Sounds good.
And here
Thank you.
comes
All right,
the
thank you,
blue
Zack.
real Zoom shutdown. I love you both.
Good night.